Thank you, Alexander, and good morning, everybody from my side as well. I am Anita Derjanecz from REVA, who is the European Federation of Building Services Engineers Association across Europe. And we would like to have with you today a webinar on skills development of engineers and white collars, so let's say senior specialists towards NZEB. And I would just like to show you, set the scene with my presentation and explain a bit why we launched different initiatives, including one of our most important projects called PROF TRAC that will be presented also today. So if we are talking about the future trends.
Anita, sorry, can you share your screen? You're not sharing at the moment.
Yes.
Quick start and then share screen.
My apologies, it's coming. Yep. Thank you, Alexander. Is it there now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for this. So just to set the scene about the challenge or about the trends we are talking about regarding NZEB and which gave us the motivation to launch some projects and initiatives in this field. Of course, now the policy, also the European and national level policies are clearly set about the future of our buildings that should become very well and efficient, using energy and becoming so-called nearly zero energy buildings. And that has an impact, of course, on the specialists, on the trained experts that work in the field, and the different fields of the subject. And the main challenge is, as I see it, is, of course, we have technologies, advanced technologies that are on the market and are being developed, but actually the industry claims that we have very well energy performing technologies already. But the new trends are now that we have to, so the new products on the market for buildings become more and more integrated, so the different components become integrated and use, of course, ITC technologies to monitor and operate and even plan and design and the buildings and the systems. So there is a technological part of these, and of course specialists and engineers, architects, everybody who is actually designing and constructing buildings and have to know about these new technologies, how to design and how to install, use them properly. And then with this system integration, digitalization, there is also a new need for more advanced skills from all levels of the professionals involved in buildings construction sector, let's say. Because there is an increased complexity and interconnectivity and more use of IT and digitalization from both the let's say professional side, but also on the user side, and that brings to a field where there are different actors that has to work now together in a different way, with a different approach, and should be able to understand each other, especially if we come to the challenge of let's say socio-economic aspects. On one side, of course, the targets are clear. We have to decarbonize our building stock in Europe, which has to target existing buildings, so that costs, we need a lot of investment in the sector on one side. So there is a need to attract private financing next to the public one. So you have to be able to convince investors also about the performances and about the worth of their investment. And on the other hand, you have to convince the user, the end user, the occupants, the persons who live and use the buildings about the importance of of refurbishment, especially, or these new trends. Because especially if you talk about refurbishment, it's a big, it can be a big hassle for the occupants to do these large-scale construction projects. And this basically is also the first main key aspect, is this multidisciplinarity that came with the NZEB challenge to the sector. So we have different actors and very different backgrounds that have to work together when we talk about the whole subject of investing and actually achieving this decarbonized building stock. So that was the background why we thought that there are different skill needs that has to be now somehow addressed, and we would like to present you in this webinar some solutions or ideas that we came up. So again, these trends, what we think there need improved skill set from every professional involved in the process, is that we have a large focus on existing building stock, because we know that the new built, so the percentage of newly built buildings are much less. They won't solve the problems to achieve the European and global targets on energy and sustainability. Then we have the system integration, which again requires very comprehensive and new type of services, using also digitalization from the building service providers, but also from the every service provider that is linked to the operation of buildings. Also, we realize that we need quality. So we have now definition of NZEBs, and we know what an NZEB should look like in terms of energy and even health or comfort performance. But in order to really achieve it, we need quality, and we need more efforts to put on quality management to ensure these high-performing buildings that are also comfortable and operate as they should, and be as efficient as they should. And also we have to look at in this context on the occupants again. So we talk about smart buildings for the future, for smart users. So in the future, in the coming decades, the digitalization and let's say, hopefully, the awareness about sustainability and energy efficiency, or even health and comfort issues, might rise also within the users. But in any case, if we talk about smart buildings, these buildings have to interact with the persons living in them or using them in a smart, user-friendly, and digitalized way. And we have to think about even occupant interaction. So how the occupants perceive the buildings and how they can interact with the systems. And of course, as I told you, the high investment costs. So we need a lot more investments in Europe, and for these, we talk about a very complex and technically complex projects as well. So we need actually technical assistance and skills, also skill development on other sectors that are not non-technical, that are not in charge of the actual construction or design of a building, but who should invest it for a good reason. Or if we talk about even public or private actors that finance investments, they have to be ensured that what they get at the end is what they paid for, and they receive the performance levels are achieved actually. So we need some guaranteed performance for these professionals, either public or private investors, or even individual owners that can ensure them the worth of the money they invest in. So that's the scene. That's why we would like to think, and especially Riva, that of course joins engineers, but realizes these trends that we have to work in an inter and multidisciplinary way with other disciplines. So I just would like to highlight you a couple of actions and initiatives that might help the upskilling of professionals, focusing of course on engineers, but that can be useful for other sectors as well. Is that now from the technical point of view, we can give a lot of guidelines and tools available on RIVA, different RIVA channels, such as our publications, or even we have a dictionary, which is now available also in an app format, but also online, and it's free to use, that translates in 20 languages different technical terms regarding buildings. Then we need also, we would like to promote the use of the EPBD-related standards. So there is a new set of European standards that was developed in order to define buildings performance. And that's also, again, a very complicated process, and it's up to member states to apply these standards in their countries. So we don't know how it will look like at the end, whether we will end up again with 20, 30 different, let's say, interpretation or application of the standard. So we have different initiatives helping these process. And then we also need some certification schemes and quality management schemes, as I pointed out previously. So we have some initiatives linked to European projects, which is the PROF TRAC project you see in the middle on the right side, will be the one which we mostly present you today. But we have also other projects like the quantum projects, which targets the problem of the performance gap between design and actual energy performance in a comprehensive way, and develops again online tools for quality management and third-party certification of the qualities and the performances. And we also have another initiative called Co-Pilot, which is again about setting up a European certification and third-party certification tool scheme online for building commissioning solutions. So these are the tools that and initiatives that RIVA has in order to help the upskilling of professionals. And now we would like to show you the outcomes of a concrete project aiming at the development of qualification and training scheme at European scale for professionals involved in the construction and design of NZEB buildings. So we would like to address the main topics, which are and how to define these specific skills and knowledge that is required for the successfully design and achieve NZEBs. We target also the mid and senior level building sector professionals in a wide range, so it's not for the workers like the Build Up Skills initiative, if you are familiar with these, but it's targeting actually experts that have, let's say, higher education degree, and then want to continuously and need to continuously develop themselves, of course. And we would like to present you the good examples developed by this PROF TRAC project and platform. And also we would like to address specifically the needs of one sector, the housing sector specialist, let's say, which is a huge sector that has a major impact on achieving again the decarbonization of the building stock in Europe, and they act as an owner or operator of large stock of buildings. According to these topics, we selected our speakers, and I just would like to briefly introduce you our speakers today. So first we will have a presentation from the PROF TRAC project coordinator, Peter Optveld, who works at Hygiene Engineers and, as a consultant engineering company in Maastricht. And he will talk to us about the project scope generally. Then we will have Philip Mosley, who is a project advisor at EASME, the European Commission's Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, who who works with this project from the part of the Commission, and is also architect by training. So it was very interesting to work with him, also because he has the actual knowledge of one important professional sector that we address here. Then we have Juan Travesi Cabetas, who is an engineer from Spain, a consultant engineer of a Spanish company, who is specialized in the design and the realization of large-scale construction projects. But he is also a board of RIVA's Spanish members called ATESIR, and involved in RIVA activities as well. So he will present us one example of this training scheme that we rolled out in the past years. And then we will have also Sorcha Edwards, who is Secretary General of Housing Europe. As I mentioned you, this key sector of representative of housing owners and operators across Europe, because it's a federation of different social housing and housing public cooperatives at European level. She has been even specialized on these NZEB and sustainable energy and refurbishment projects and initiatives within Housing Europe, and she will present us the point of view of and the needs of the housing sector when we talk about upskilling towards NZEB. And with this, I would like to thank you and hand over to our first speaker, Peter Optweld.